Welcome to episode 4 of the Weekly Take podcast. I am your host, Dominick Joseph, and today we're going to be talking about the Week 4 recap, Week 5 picks, my updated NFL power rankings, moving into the fantasy shockers aspect, the best team in the NFL, and some quick NBA headlines to end the show. So let's get into the first part of the week where we talk about the recap of the week. So to start it off, we had the Minnesota Vikings against the Los Angeles Rams, and unfortunately the Vikings lost that game. I know a lot of people wanted the Rams to lose this game because, the Rams are the powerhouse of the NFC. The Vikings, this would have been a really good game come playoff time. But, the Vikings are a different team this year, and it's kind of weird to see that the Vikings, they put up a good fight against the Rams. I will give them that for sure. But the Rams they just kind of showed that they're the better team this year. And it sucks to see like a team that's such a powerhouse and that we could see going all the way into the end of the year. It's almost like the NBA where we're like, well, the Rams are going to go to the Super Bowl. And their team this year is pretty damn talented. When you have a team on with a quarterback with the rookie contract, it helps tremendously. Without paying Jared Goff all the big bucks, they're able to put people fill the holes in where they need it, and they don't have to worry about a quarterback. But when that guy's contract comes up, they're gonna be hurting. Moving into the Bengals Falcons game, the Bengals squeezed this one up. Squeezed this one out 37-36. That was a pretty big win for them. I picked Atlanta that week, I mean, and I couldn't believe that the Bengals came back and won. The Bengals I now am a firm believer in. The Falcons just, I don't know, that offense just likes to be stagnant when they need to be good. The Falcons like to choke, and when they need to be bad, they want to be good. So it's just like they're so hard to pick. The Bengals got their first win at Atlanta since like 1987. Moving into the Bucks Bears game, Trubisky obviously is the huge highlight in this one. If you throw 6 TDs, you're gonna get talked about. He's another thing. You give him weapons, you give him a good running back, you give him, 2 good running backs. He's gonna perform, and his line isn't terrible. And the defense with Khalil Mack is alone. Just having him alone is pretty good to just make your defense pretty well rounded. The Bucks just, I guess they showed some light that Fitzpatrick is not the answer. Neither is Jameis Winston. They both go in there and they both threw picks. So like, I guess the Buccaneers are really just ass. Like, I did put them high up in my power rankings last week, but now that I could kind of see how they went against like a decent team, I know they beat Philadelphia, but Philadelphia has also been kind of slow this year too. So I guess we'll go from there. We'll see how the Bucks plan out when they figure out who their quarterback really is and if their quarterback can show up to the game. They both had picks in this game, so I don't really know who they're going to roll with going forward. Moving into the Lions Cowboys game, the Cowboys squeezed this one out, and I was actually really impressed with Dak Prescott at the end of the game. That game-winning drive was tremendous. It did end up into a field goal, but it would have been nice to have a touch. If they would have scored a touchdown, I think I would have put them up more, just like rank wise. Dallas, Ezekiel Elliott kind of showed he is the number one rushing leader right now. If you give that guy 25 touches plus a game, he's going to perform. He's not one of those guys you could just give 10 touches and expect him to get like really good performance. Moving into the Texans Colts game, this was one of the games that was on TV for me a lot on the Red Zone package. Texans, they showed some light, but against the Indianapolis Colts. I know the Indianapolis Colts, though, that team right there is one of the most one-sided teams in the NFL, more than Aaron Rodgers. They go into the game, Andrew Luck's going to throw it 60 times. Aaron Rodgers at least tries to get a couple of draws in there. These guys, they are literally the air raid this year. Andrew Luck just threw like crazy. Both quarterbacks had good fantasy days. Deshaun Watson, is slowly starting to come back into Deshaun Watson, who we all knew. But still that both teams are just, they're really heavy on one side of the ball, whether that be offense for both of them. But, I couldn't believe that this game went to OT. This was one of those games that you're like, oh, it's probably going to be 17-20. It's going to be a slow game. But this was actually not a slow game at all. Moving into the Bills-Packers game, I was, not shocked at all. I saw the Bills just, I think the Bills are one of the worst teams in the league. They did beat Minnesota pretty commandingly, but the Packers are pretty good at home. You're not going to beat the Packers if you're the Bills this year, at least. In Lambeau against Aaron Rodgers, it's not going to happen. Moving into the Dolphins-Patriots game, the Patriots kind of just, silenced all the haters and said, well, we're still the Patriots no matter what you guys say. The Dolphins couldn't really even put up a fight. I thought they would. They're 3-0. So, but, I called the Patriots coming back this game. It's just, they're the New England Patriots. They're going to outsmart you. They're going to wait till you make mistakes, and they're going to capitalize on it. And that's one of those things that the Patriots do really well on. The Miami Dolphins, we couldn't really trust if they were really a true 3-0 team until last week. But the Patriots really exposed them and let everyone know that, hey, these guys haven't really played that many people. So I bet you a lot of people fell off the bandwagon for that one, for at least. Moving into the no, we already talked about that one. Let's move into the Jets-Jaguars game. Moving into this game was, everyone kind of knew Jacksonville was going to win this game. It was just a matter of how good the Jets could do. The thing I did, and I was really surprised, I did not mean to say that. I was just really surprised with the Jets pass rush. That's probably the strongest suit of that team. But, Sam Darnold is a rookie quarterback against the best defense in the NFL. This is kind of like something we all expected. Jaguars offense looked really well. The Jets just couldn't get really anything going. They had a couple big turnovers, but, at the end of the day, they couldn't beat Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a really good team this year. They're probably going to go really far in the playoffs this year, so I expected them to win that game. Moving into the Eagles-Titans game, man, what is going on with the Philadelphia Eagles? I do not know. I don't know if they just haven't found themselves with Wentz coming back. Maybe they're not used to it. That's like the only excuse I can think of. I don't know. The Titans pass rush is pretty legit with Brian Arakpo. He's a big veteran. And they got a couple other big pieces on that defense. And that offense will get you a touchdown. It's not like a stale offense that just consistently gets threes. This offense will get you a couple touchdowns, and I think that's the separator from the Titans is that I know every team wants a touchdown, but I feel like this team just is really good in the red zone this year. So yeah, I was just really shocked that the Titans were able to maintain Philly. I know they were home. It's hard to win in Tennessee, I guess, this year. They're 3-1. Eagles, I think they'll find themselves next week, but they got a hard team playing next week. They're playing Minnesota, so we'll see how good the Philly Eagles are this year. I think the spark will eventually come back. Moving into the Browns-Raiders, I picked the Browns because I was just hoping they'd get 2 wins. But the thing is with the Raiders, I don't pick them, they win. If I pick them, they lose. So I wish I could just not pick that game whenever the Raiders play because then I'd do really good in picks. But moving into the Raiders game, it was just, John Gruden, I guess, had a really good offense planned out against this Browns defense. These guys aren't no pushover Browns anymore. They got a good defense. Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett, just to name a few. I was really impressed with the Raiders scoring 45. I didn't think they could score 45. But yeah, so the offense showed some light, and I think that's the big takeaway from this game. Seahawks at Cardinals. Josh Rosen got his first start. That was pretty cool to see, but he wasn't enough for the Seahawks, and we all know what happened in Seattle. Number 29 got hurt and flipped off the organization. That's a whole can of worms. But, the Seahawks, it's just that defense is not what it used to be, especially losing him now and losing all their key players, Michael Bennett, Bruce Irving, Malcolm Smith, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor. Those are just big names that are gone now. It's hard to believe in this defense. They have a lot of good young guys that I think have really good potential, but they're not the Seattle Seahawks we used to know. Arizona had some light with Josh Rosen, but he still showed that he's a rookie quarterback. He can't do it all yet, but I did like the passes he was making. I'm in a situation right now where I stick up for Earl Thomas. He does deserve to be paid, and I think the reason why he flipped them off is because, he wanted that job security because, the NFL stands were not for long, and when you get hurt like that, it's, he's going to be a free agent next year, a 30-year-old free safety coming off a leg injury on the same leg twice. He could be getting paid big bucks, but after that, now he's probably going to have to be scraping for the, $7 million contract. So moving into the Saints-Giants game, I really wanted the Giants to show some offense here, but they didn't. Alvin Kamara took over this game. He was an absolute monster. Alvin Kamara is a fantasy king. Moving into the Giants, The Giants just could not get anything going. I'm a firm believer in Eli, but not this year. Eli is really, I think, the thing that is holding them back. I wish they could have just drafted a quarterback, like a good quarterback. Although Saquon is good and he takes some pressure off Eli, I think like an athletic quarterback would have been a really good pick. I think they did pick one in the lower rounds, but a high round pick, get that momentum, get the fan base excited. But yeah, the Giants score 18, the Saints score 33. They couldn't win in New York for their home crowd. It's all good though. Moving into the 49ers Chargers game, I was really surprised with the 49ers with their new quarterback, Barathra, I think is his name, CJ Barathra. And he put on a show in LA. San Diego, I was thinking, is way better this year, but they're off to a really slow start. I think they're going to come back, though. Melvin Gordon showed he doesn't know how to get tackled. Phillip Rivers has a pretty good offense still. He's got good weapons on that side. That defense is no joke. But the 49ers stayed in the game. I have them pretty high up in my power rankings this week just because they've had a pretty tough schedule this year. And they've fought every game. So I'm going to give, a moral victory to the 49ers for this, but a win's a win for the Chargers. Moving into the Ravens-Steelers game, man, I was impressed with my Baltimore Ravens, man. They put on a show on Sunday night against the Steelers. As a fan, I would be happy with 2 wins a year against the Steelers. I'm having a hard time believing that this is a Pittsburgh Steelers with that team. I know they're way talented, and I know the record doesn't show for who they are. But, right now it's starting to look like maybe they're slowing down a bit, but I can't really give you a bold prediction yet because I think the Steelers are still going to bounce back. I think the next game that we play against them in Baltimore is going to be even more gruesome, more rivalry driven. But I am impressed with the Ravens offense this year. I know Tucker had a lot of the points, but I'm really proud of the Ravens to punch it into the end zone this year. That's something they haven't really been good at. Good takeaway from the Steelers. Their offense looked pretty good. They still don't have Le'Veon Bell, and I know a lot of people say James Conner is he's just as good. He's really not. Le'Veon Bell is truly missed in that team. I just think as soon as they get their chemistry back together, they'll be the old Pittsburgh Steelers, and these games will be even better. Moving into the Chiefs-Broncos game, I was really rooting for the Broncos just because I'm not really a big Chiefs guy. But, Patrick Mahomes showed that he's pretty fucking legit this year. And, the Broncos, had a good lead, and they just let him come back, and he, worked his magic for that. So I think Patrick Mahomes is pretty legit this year. The Chiefs' defense isn't the best this year. They're not the old Chiefs. They're more offensive-driven, I think, this year. But the Broncos aren't the greatest team in the NFL, I know that. But, the Chiefs, that comeback was pretty legit. So moving into the next part of the show, I want to talk about my picks for the week. So starting for NFL Week 5, we got the Colts at Patriots. And there's no way I'm going to go Colts this game. I think the Patriots are on the rise again. Not like the Super Bowl rise or anything. I just think they're a pretty good team. I just don't think they're just going to let the Colts beat them. And I know Tom Brady wants some vengeance after all that Deflategate stuff. This is the first time he's played against Indianapolis since then. So Edelman's coming back. I just really like the Patriots' chances this game. Moving into the Titans-Bills game, I have to go with Titans. Titans are 3-1. Buffalo, they suck this year. They scored 0 points, and they scored 7 against the Ravens. And I guess they did really good against the Vikings, but their basement's really low and their ceiling is really rare. So I gotta go Titans in Buffalo. Falcons at Steelers. I gotta go Falcons. I think they're gonna figure out that offense. I think Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, Tevin Coleman. I don't know if Devontae Freeman's coming back. They got Mohamed Sanu. That offense I think the Steelers can't handle, and they could even really handle the Ravens offense. And I would say the Falcons offense is better than the Ravens offense. Skill-wise, I think the Ravens have less skill, but they're more like they have the yards to show this year. Moving into, I got to go Falcons. Excuse me. I got to go Broncos against the Jets. Broncos are at the Jets, and I got to pick Denver going into New York. I know they're going into New York, and that's a time zone shift. New York's really loud, but I just really like the Broncos this year when they play against teams like this. I just feel like this is one of those wins that was almost like a lock. Like I know they're going to win. Um, moving into the Jaguars at Chiefs, a lot of people would go Jaguars because defense wins championships kind of thing. But I'm gonna go Chiefs this game. I think they're gonna go to 5-0. Or 6-0, I believe. I think it's 6-0 or 5-0. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they're undefeated. They're going against the Jags. The Jags lost to Tennessee, and I know Tennessee's pretty good, but the Chiefs haven't lost yet, so I give them that edge. They're in Kansas City. They're fucking loud in Kansas City. That's for damn sure. Patrick Mahomes is playing lights out right now. That offense is looking good. Kareem Hunt's doing good. The Jaguars like to stall sometimes, and I'm scared of that stall being late in the game and the Chiefs running away with it. So I got to go Kansas City. Moving into the Packers at Lions, I got to go Packers just because of that man, number 12, Aaron Rodgers. I just think the offense is going to get going. If the offense in Dallas put points on Detroit, I really think the Packers are going to win. So I got to go Packers. But before I just go all in for the Packers, I got to say the running attack with Kerryon Johnson in Detroit could be a huge difference maker in this game. So that is why that is a bad pick. I think Detroit can come back if they get the running game going, but I'm going Green Bay. Although Detroit is home, I think it's going to be a good game, divisional game. Again, Green Bay is going to win this game. Moving into the Ravens at Browns, I got to go Ravens. That offense is looking fantastic this year with that defense as well. Ever since Ray Lewis stepped into that locker room in like 1999, that defense has been good. But the Browns are no pushover this year. I think that defense is going to put some good pressure on Flacco, make him make some hard throws. So until then, I got to go Baltimore this game. They look too tough this year. Moving into the Giants at Panthers, I got to go Panthers. The Giants offense is just looking really pathetic this year. I know they have Odell, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, Saquon, but it's still just stalling with that quarterback problem. Their defense is still, the New York Giants with Landon Collins, and they got Jack Rabbit on the end. And then, it's just I think the Panthers are going to win this game. They're coming off a bye at home against a pretty weak team. I think, that preparation for this is going to be really good. I think Cam Newton's going to put on a show, so I got to go Panthers. Dolphins at Bengals. This is another game where I just, I honestly think the Bengals are just going to whoop on the Dolphins this game. I know the Dolphins are 3-1, but so are the Bengals, and the Bengals are a pretty legit team this year. I am picking the Bengals just because of that offense. They're playing really good, and that Geno Atkins in the middle was a huge difference for that defense. So I think even that too is a big thing for them. I think the Cincinnati defense shuts down Ryan Tannehill. Moving into the Raiders at Chargers, I got to go Chargers. I just don't like picking the Raiders. Watch them win this week. But I got to go LA. And let me tell you why it's a bad pick first. It's a bad pick that I'm picking the Chargers because I know the Raiders they got a spark under their ass for that win. And I think they know LA pretty well. This is an in-division game, and it's going to be a close one. But I got to go LA. I just like their offense way better than Oakland's, and I think their defense is more well-rounded. Moving into the Cardinals at 49ers, I got to go Niners. The Niners have put on a show against a lot of good teams this year. And the Cardinals are winless to this point. I can't pick the winless Cardinals against these Niners. These Niners looked pretty good last week, and I think the team put something together for this win against the Cardinals in divisional game. I know these guys aren't really fighting for a playoff spot, but they're fighting not to be last in the NFC West. That's for damn sure. Moving into the Vikings at Eagles, I gotta go Eagles. I think that defensive line gets to Kirk Cousins way too quick. Last week they suffered getting their quarterback right to them. Green Bay got to Minnesota. I forgot who they played. Oh yeah, they played LA. LA whooped on their offensive line last week. I just got to go Eagles. The Eagles, I think, are going to find their true identity after that loss against Tennessee. I think the Eagles win this game against the Vikings pretty commandingly. I do think it's going to be a good game for the first half, but I think that the Eagles are going to run away with it. Moving into the Rams at Seahawks, I got to go Rams. The Rams are too powerful. The Seahawks, they've showed some light against some teams this year, but I just don't think they're going to beat the Rams. Although, let me tell you why that could be wrong. The Seahawks usually find a way to beat the Rams, vice versa. The Rams these teams know each other very well. I think the Seahawks could maybe bounce and win this game. That's a maybe, though. I'm thinking the Rams are going to win this 80%, but that 20% is driving me a little crazy. I think the Seattle Seahawks could come back and rally against these Rams and give them their first loss, but I also do see them getting their ass kicked, too. but I got to go Rams. The statistics, the record, the skill, the offense is just way more for compared to the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm going to go Rams. Dallas Cowboys at Texans. I got to go Dallas. I really like the run game in Dallas. I also like when Dak Prescott can throw it more than 10 yards, and I think he's going to do that. Houston Texans, I don't think are going to show too much. I think there's going to be more Dallas fans in the Houston stadium than Houston fans. I just really like the Dallas Cowboys against this team. This team isn't really showing that much. Deshaun Watson, yes. DeAndre Hopkins, yes. But J.J. Watt, yes. Tre'Davious Clowney, yes. But everyone else is I don't know who they are. The Texans were a promising team going into this year, but right now they're showing they can't really figure out who they are. So moving into Monday night, Redskins at Saints. It's hard to pick against the Saints how good they're playing with Alvin Kamara. That's given Drew Brees so much more breathing room. And I just think the Redskins cannot put up against these Saints. The Redskins are coming off a bye, so that could be, a big thing for them. They've probably been studying them for a couple extra more days, so I think the Redskins are going to come prepared, but I think the Saints are still going to win this game. Moving into my favorite part of the week this week is the updated power rankings. So I'm going to start from top to bottom this time. Last time I stopped from the bottom to the top, and I'm going to try to switch it up every week just so it's not stale for you guys. At number 1, I got Los Angeles Rams still. I think that offense is just, too great to put at number 2. And then I have Kansas City Chiefs at number 2. I really like Patrick Mahomes in that offense, so I think they still believe they're both still undefeated, so I put the undefeated teams on the top. I just think the Rams have won some more commanding games, and I think they've blown teams out more. If the Chiefs would have really stomped on the Broncos, I might have given them that, but that comeback was really nice, so that's why I still have them at number 2. I have Cincinnati at 3, and let me tell you before you get all, New Orleans did be up there. I just think Cincinnati is really good this year. I like that offense, and honestly, they came out of nowhere because I was talking mad crap about the Bengals going into this year. I was like, man, they are like one of the worst teams in the league. They're down there with Arizona, and to be honest, the Bengals are not down there with Arizona this year. Next, I got New Orleans and Carolina, 2 NFC South teams. I just really like Alvin Kamara, and Drew Brees. Those 2 alone are gonna win you some games. Michael Thomas is fantastic too. Carolina did have a bye, so I didn't really get to talk about them this week. They are in the same spot at the 5 spot. Moving into the Jaguars game, they are at the 6 spots, and they moved up 3 spots from the 9th position. I just really like how their defense and their offense is, the defense is obviously the Jags, and they have Jalen Ramsey, AJ Boye. They got all these big young players, but their offense is looking pretty good too. Even with Leonard Fournette out, TJ Yeldon's putting in some work, and they also have another running back behind him, who I'm totally forgetting right now, which I apologize. But yeah, I really like the Jacksonville Jaguars at the 6th spot. Moving into the Minnesota, I got them at the 7th spot. They moved up 3 spots since last week. I really like the Vikings offense, but the one thing I think they could improve on is their offensive line. If their offensive line was a little bit better, I'd throw them above Jacksonville and Carolina. But I got Minnesota at the 7th spot. At the 8, 9, and 10 spot, I got Tennessee, Baltimore, and Philly. I really just think Tennessee is really good this year. They're 3-1. And they've played some really good teams. They beat Jacksonville, and I still have Jacksonville above Tennessee. I just like Jacksonville's strength of schedule a little bit more, so I have them a little bit above them. But if push comes to shove, if the Tennessee beats them again, I have no problem putting Jacksonville above them. Then I got Baltimore. Their offense is looking really good. Their defense has always looked really good. That's always been their strong suit ever since Ray Lewis suited up in that uniform. Ed Reed, Haloti Ngata. They have a lot. Bernard Pollard was even on the team. They had some really good playmakers, and I think that stays with them. Moving back into the Philly spot at number 10, they moved down after losing to Tennessee like that. I don't know. I just, I was kind of expecting the Eagles to whoop on them, but that didn't happen. New England, I have at 11. I just like, that's, they're pretty good there. I think that's a pretty good spot for New England. They moved up 3 spots from the 14th spot. Then I got Green Bay, Miami, and Chicago. Green Bay at 12, Miami at 13, Chicago at 14. I just think Green Bay, that was a pretty good win against Buffalo. They did what they were supposed to do, but they're waiting for like a better team to play. And I think, it's going to be cool to see Green Bay this week. play, and then we'll go from there for the power rankings for next week. Miami moved down 9 spots. I had them really high up there, but after they showed they couldn't even beat New England, they moved to 3-1. I don't believe in Miami, so that's why I have them at 13 right now. After that loss, I don't believe in them. I did believe in them before that. Moving into Chicago, I think Chicago is pretty promising this year. Trubisky threw 6 touchdowns, so you have to move up in that situation. So they moved up from the 17th spot to the 14th spot. Atlanta is at the 15th spot. I know their record is 1-3, but I still like that. I still think they have an offense there. I still think they're gonna be in the playoffs. But that division is stacked. They got the Saints and Carolina, and Tampa Bay isn't no pushover either. So that division is really good this year. Then I got the Chargers at the 16th spot. They moved down. After them giving a game to the 49ers like that, when they should have just commandingly won that game, I just really think that they could have beat them a little bit more. Win's a win, but still, I wasn't really too impressed with that game, so I did move them down a little bit. At the 17th spot, I got Tampa Bay. They moved down 9 spots. After, 2 quarterbacks coming and throw that many picks, your offense looks stale against a team like Chicago. Chicago is pretty good, but, you guys are pretty equal, and for them to look like the Bills in that kind of game, I moved them down 9 spots. They were at the 8th spot. Now they're at the 17th. Pittsburgh is at my 18th spot. They moved down after losing to Baltimore like that. I just think their offense just looked really stale, and it looked like they couldn't get anything going after after Baltimore figured them out. They looked like they had their tail between their legs. So I have Pittsburgh at 18th. I have Denver at the 19th and San Francisco at the 20th. I almost put San Francisco above Denver, but Denver's played some pretty tough teams this year, so I don't really know what to say about Denver. I know Denver's not the best team in the NFL, but I know they're not the worst. They're like higher mid, so I would have put them above San Francisco, but I like their schedule. San Francisco's at the 20th spot. They moved up a lot of spots, actually. After that, I really liked how they gave the Chargers a game, and I really looked at their schedule this year, and they were in a lot of their games. And they lost Jimmy Garoppolo and Jerick McKinnon. Those two alone, your starting quarterback and your starting running back, that's a lot to lose. And them to still be in games is pretty surprising. Washington moved down a spot. They did have a bye, so it couldn't really go off much. And I thought there was a lot of improvements and disimprovements this week from the whole NFL. So they moved down a spot. Seattle, I also did move down a spot. I just, I'm sorry I have to put Seattle at this 22 position, but, they were at the 19th. It's just I don't know. I couldn't really put them up, and I couldn't really put them down. I still had to put them above Dallas. Dallas is at the 23rd spot. Dallas moved up 1. But, we go back to the Seattle thing. They're a good team. They have good talent, but it's just Russell Wilson can't do it all. They got some locker room issues going. So they're at the 22. Dallas is at the 23. Moving back to the Giants at the 24. The Giants' offense is just stale this year, and it sucks to see, but it's true. I can't put them any higher than 24. I'm doing them a favor putting them above of Cleveland and Detroit. Cleveland's at the 25th, and Detroit's at the 26th. I could very well put both these teams a little higher, but, both of them... Detroit's coming off a loss and Cleveland's coming off a loss against the Raiders. They did put up a lot of points, and I was kind of surprised by that. So I don't think I've seen the Browns score 42 in almost as long ago as since they last won before they beat the Jets. So I got Cleveland at 25, Detroit at 26, and then Oakland and the Jets, I got 27-28. Oakland, they moved up quite a bit after beating the Browns because I thought that was a big win for them, but I didn't move them any higher than 27. Going to the Jets, I dropped them down to, they got whooped on by Jacksonville. I just thought they would get a couple more touchdowns. I was kind of let down by that, so I had to move them down a little bit. Houston and Indy, I got 29 and 30. Houston moved down after playing Indy. Indy stays the same at 30. Those teams both played each other. I couldn't really bounce them up. They both looked pretty even. But yeah, those teams are definitely on the bottom feeders. Then I have Buffalo at 31. They moved down 6 spots after getting shut up by Green Bay. Green Bay is not Green Bay this year. I mean that because they're not like super powerful, but they're still Green Bay. They still have number 12 on that team. And then last I got Arizona. They gave a pretty good game against Seattle, but they just got Josh Rosen back. I didn't want to put them at the 32 spot. I wanted to put Buffalo there, but I just think Arizona, is the worst team. Buffalo did beat Minnesota. I know Minnesota's not the powerhouse team, but they could be. So if they do end up being, Buffalo could say they beat them when they're sitting on their couches, because Buffalo's not going anywhere this year. Moving into the fantasy shockers of this week, I have Tariq Cohen with 23.4 points, and that's a pretty big point. Pretty big amount of points for him. Jordan Howard's usually the number one guy there, and for him to come in and do that, that's pretty awesome. I do not know if Jordan Howard was hurt, though. That could have impacted the score. Nick Chubb, again, he's another fantasy shocker I have, 22.5. Wow, the Browns are actually producing fantasy players, and that's really weird. The last fantasy player that was around for, Josh Gordon maybe Isaiah Crowell. But 22.5 points is pretty big for them. And then I got Taylor Gabriel in Chicago. He scored about 21.5 points, and that's pretty big too. Chicago's, producing fantasy players. I know Mitchell Trubisky threw 6 touchdowns, so obviously someone's got to catch him. But, man, he looked really good. Moving into the best team in the NFL before we move into the NBA headlines, I just still have to go the Los Angeles Rams. I put them at number 1 in my power rankings. I have to pick them. That offense is too much. Todd Gurley's too much. Jared Goff is playing lights out. Cooper Kupp's doing good. Their defense has fucking Aaron Donald, the Dominick Sue. They got Brockers. That's just, I know it's just tooting their horn and it's like repetitive, but I gotta say the Los Angeles Rams. But let me tell you why that could be wrong. I think if the Chiefs win another commanding win this week against the Jags, I might put them above the Rams, because the Rams are playing Seattle, and then if the Chiefs whoop on the Jacksonville Jaguars with the number 1 defense in the NFL, I think the Chiefs will go against, they'll take their spot. But until that happens, we're going to go with the Los Angeles Rams as the best team in the NFL. Moving into the NBA headlines of the week, I just want to talk about some quick things. KD is rumored about the Knicks, and let me tell you about that. That could very well happen. I think KD could get some respect from the NBA fans, because, a lot of people are hating on KD lately. I do see why. But if he goes to the Knicks and changes that franchise, brings them back to the old Knicks that were before my time, I think he will gain some respect. If he goes there and wins a championship, I think people forget about all this Golden State shit. But if KD goes to the Knicks, what's stopping Kyrie from going to the Knicks? I think that would be cool. Kyrie and KD teaming up. I think that would be a pretty cool team to watch in orange and white and blue. I think the Knicks would be pretty legit with those two. But until that happens, we'll see. I like Kyrie on the Celtics right now, and I like Kevin Durant on the Warriors. I think those two could go against each other in the finals. Wouldn't that be funny to see Kevin Durant and Kyrie play against each other in the finals, if that's the finals this year, which very well could be? Then them both leaving and go to the Knicks to make a super team. That would be pretty cool, actually. I would like to see that, to be honest with you. LeBron's performance, his first performance in LA, he played 15 minutes, 13 points, 3 assists, and 3 rebounds. That was pretty good. 15 minutes, you can go and do that. That's pretty fucking cool. That's almost a point a minute. I think the JaVale McGee is going to be a pretty good situation with LeBron this year. I think that's going to be a pretty good thing to be reckoned with. Moving into the Jimmy Butler side of things, Butler is rumored to be, he could side back to Minnesota, I guess. What I think is going to happen is I think Jimmy Butler signs with Minnesota maybe again, long-term contract, and then they trade him away like that. And then, because I think another team would like that, to take that contract and be like, okay, we'll hold Jimmy Butler for this long, instead of them trading him for like 1 year and then him leaving, going to somewhere else. So I think Minnesota signs him, and then they trade him away for like a bigger package. And I think that's a very well possibility. Or he goes to Miami. I guess they were really close to signing him to Miami today, I've heard. Kawhi's debut in Toronto, I know it's a little late, but I really liked what I saw from Kawhi. He looks like the old Kawhi. And, the thing is with Toronto, they're really trying to drive that media to Kawhi. You could see, like, they're asking him all these questions. I know the laugh thing really got him more on the radar, but I think Toronto's really doing a good job with Kawhi. They're kind of like, they're easing him into it, because I know they're all really excited. That guy makes a point. Toronto goes fucking nuts. Like, yeah! That's what Toronto sounds like every bucket for Kawhi. Everyone's rushing to help him up. I think it's good for him. that he's in Toronto, although I'm a huge Spurs fan. I wish he was still back in silver and black, but I wish him luck in the East. I think the East is going to be pretty good this year with Toronto, Boston, Sixers, Wizards. I just think that it's not going to be the least this year. I still do think the West is far better, but I don't think the East is going to be terrible this year. So that does it for this week, this week's podcast. So I will see you guys next Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you guys so much for listening. It means the world, and I hope everyone has a good one. So long. Thank you very much.